Okay, thanks for sending this one over. This source material is really something else. We're diving into what it calls an apocalyptic comedic calamity.
Yeah, quite the phrase, isn't it? And, the source actually gives this specific scenario an 11-10 on its own extreme calamity scale.
11 out of 10, so like off the charts.
Exactly. We're talking disaster so massive, so disproportionate, it kind of becomes, well, absurdly funny, according to the source. It
Okay.
pushes past tragedy into the surreal.
Right, it's almost a shortcut to understanding how catastrophe can tip over into something just completely bizarre and memorable. So our mission here is to unpack this specific scenario and figure out why it gets that 11-10.
Let's do it. So the scene, the source sets, is a big coastal city, very grand ceremony happening.
And the centerpiece is this new oceanic observation tower.
Yeah, huge, super high-tech, great views, obviously, but the source notes it also has this top-secret deep-sea research lab tucked away inside. Big symbol of civic pride and ambition.
And who's front and center? The mayor, described as notoriously pompous.
Giving a speech live, globally televised.
Mm-hmm.
From the very top deck, you've got dignitaries, celebs, and this flock of white doves just waiting.
Ready for the symbolic release? What could
Yeah.
possibly go wrong?
Okay, well, this is where the chain reaction starts, according to the source. The mayor gives the cue.
And then some kind of mix-up.
Total miscommunication. Apparently, a nervous intern trips a lever, but it's not for, like, opening cages gently.
Oh, no.
No, the source is very specific. The doves are launched via a pneumatic cannon.
Wait, like, shot out a cannon for birds?
Exactly.
Yeah.
High-velocity, feathered missiles, basically. That's already, lean into the absurd.
Definitely.
And, it's just to make it worse, at that exact moment, a swarm of really aggressive seagulls, the source mentions they're garbage-eating types, drawn by the party waste, they intercept the doves.
Oh, wow. So an instant midair bird battle.
Right above the VIPs, the source paints this picture of squawking, feathers everywhere, bird droppings raining down, ruining extensive clothes, the whole solemn atmosphere just gone.
And that's just calamity number one.
Just the opener. Because while everyone's looking up at this avian nightmare, down below, something else gets triggered. There's a technician for the tower's light show.
Right, probably distracted by the bird chaos.
You got it. And they accidentally flip the main switch for the Oceanic Majesty robot display. But they don't hit the normal setting, they hit maximum chaos.
Maximum chaos. What does that even mean for robots?
So these are three huge crane-like robotic arms, meant for, graceful light patterns. Instead, they start thrashing wildly, completely out of control, like a violent synchronized spasm.
Yikes. Okay.
And one of these flailing robot arms snags something big, a large decorative fountain nearby.
Oh, not just any fountain, I bet.
No, the source says it's filled with thousands of gallons of water and it has pyrotechnic jets built in.
Oh, perfect.
So the arm just rips it right off its base. Suddenly, you've got this massive water bomb basically flying through the air.
An airborne fountain with fireworks? And where does it land? Let me guess. Somewhere flammable.
You know it. Right onto a nearby, conveniently highly flammable inflatable mascot.
Of course.
So boom, the fountain hits it and explodes, a huge, watery, fiery spectacle. It's just layering absurdity on absurdity now.
It really is compounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so birds, rogue robots, exploding fountains. But you mentioned that lab deep inside.
Ah, yes. While all that's happening up top, down at the deep sea research lab, things are about to get much worse. There's a team down there meant to be observing a new discovery.
Something from the deep.
Something very unique. The source describes it as a bioluminescent, oddly gelatinous leviathan.
Gelatinous. And huge.
Immense. About 100 feet long, the source estimates. Just this giant, glowing, wobbly sea creature in a tank at the base of the tower.
What could possibly go wrong there, given everything else?
Well, the source connects the dots. Those violent tremors from the malfunctioning robots upstairs, plus the shockwave from the exploding fountain. It was just enough.
Don't tell me. The tank?
Critical structural failure in the main containment tank. It ruptures. Big, colossal boom from below now added to the noise upstairs.
Okay, so the 100-foot glowing jelly monster is loose.
And confused, it just starts, well, rising. Up the tower's central shaft, filling it with this glowing viscous goo as it goes. The scale just jumped dramatically.
From civic ceremony gone wrong to, like, creature feature. Okay, so let's pull this all together. The source describes the final act, right?
The grand finale. You've got the mayor still up there, probably mid-sentence, watching the bird war, seeing the fountain explosion, feeling the tower shake, maybe seeing some goo.
And
then the source delivers the punchline. The enormous glowing gelatinous leviathan breaches the ocean surface right next to the tower.
making a huge wave, I think.
A massive tidal wave. But here's the genius part from the source. The wave doesn't head for the shore. No, it heads straight for this enormous floating stage set up for the after-party concert.
The floating stage, which the source specifically called out as.
Structurally questionable. Exactly. Complete with a band's gear, giant speakers, and, yes, a fully inflated bouncy castle.
The bouncy castle, it's just perfect.
The wave slams into it, breaks its moorings. Now it's a rogue island of rock and roll debris propelled by the Leviathan's wave.
Head straight for.
The Oceanic Observation Tower itself.
Which, as we just established, has a few issues already.
Yeah, the foundation's already compromised from the lab rupture down below. And it's got a 100-foot jelly monster partly inside it.
So the rogue stage hits.
And that's the final straw. The impact, the existing damage, the weight. The whole tower just lists dramatically. The source describes this groana.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then slowly, almost majestically, it starts to topple.
Just in the ocean.
The whole thing collapses in the slow-motion avalanche of steel, glass, and glowing goo. A monument to ambition, undone by utter nonsense.
And the last shot.
The mayor's face, terrified, right before the global TV feed cuts to static. Pure comedic catastrophe gold, according to the source.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I can see why that gets an 11/10. The source breaks down the rating, and it adds up.
Definitely. First, city-scale impact. Losing a major landmark like that, huge.
Plus the global audience, the whole world watching this live, humiliation on a global scale.
And just the sheer pile-up, the multiple compounding disasters. It wasn't one thing. It was the bird cannon, then the robots, then the fountain, then the Leviathan, then the stage, then the tower. Each one escalating the absurdity.
The chain reaction itself is key. The source calls it absurd causation, right? The idea that this specific improbable sequence happened.
Exactly. A nervous intern leads to a sea monster escape, leads to a bouncy castle taking down a skyscraper. It's, like the source implies, a plot written by mad jesters. It defies any realistic probability.
Then there's the straightforward environmental and property destruction, just massive, costly ruin.
And, even played for laughs, there's an implied threat to life. You wouldn't want to be anywhere near that sequence of events.
True. And finally, the animals. The exaggerated animal involvement. Not just birds, but projectile doves versus angry seagulls. Not just a fish, but a 100-foot glowing, gelatinous, confused leviathan. It pushes it into cartoon territory.
Yeah, it just dials everything up, turns the city's proudest moment into this legendary, unbelievable failure.
So, thinking about this whole scenario from the source, what makes it so fascinating to break down? For me, it's partly the sheer inventiveness of it all, the ridiculous creativity.
I agree. And maybe, even though it's totally over the top, it does touch on something real about complex systems, how, tiny failures or unexpected events can just cascade sometimes.
Like a Rube Goldberg machine of disaster.
Exactly, but on an apocalyptic scale. And there is undeniably a kind of dark humor in seeing something so ambitious brought down so spectacularly and stupidly.
It really makes you think, though.
Absolutely. It leaves you pondering, maybe. If a series of wildly unlikely events, small things really, can link up just right by pure absurd chance and cause this level of catastrophic, memorable chaos, what does that suggest about the hidden weak spots in our own complex systems, the ones we build with, the best intentions, aiming for order, but maybe they're just one runaway bouncy castle away from their own kind of glowing goo finale, something to think about.